My area of focus has been animal health over the years, disease outbreaks, being able to work with the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, mapping, being able to identify where we're at, what's the disease areas, how we're going to deal with the risk. Being able to do things like communicate with the Canadian Food Inspection Agency and then out to the regions would be a huge advantage to be able to coordinate any foreign animal disease outbreak. Being able to get information to producers as the disease outbreaks, again, so they don't get misinformation, so they don't wait 3 days till the media picks it up, to be able to get the information they need to know how to run their business and protect their farms. Oh no. Oh, that's too bad. You guys on your handout, that's really too bad. This is the wrong copy. That's really disappointing. Moo is sick. On your handouts is a program that we've developed. I don't know if you have ever heard of Who is Sick on Google, where it's a community thing where you can put in whether you're sick or not. What we've done, and it's just sort of take on that. I have, this techno people always have a really bad sense of humor. So, but they've created a system within our surveillance. So we have a surveillance system in which veterinarians report within 3 days diseases that they have seen, just regular, ordinary things that are happening out in the field. In their producers. The information is protected, so we don't have the exact producer, but we have their county. So we've started to develop this method so that we can actually watch what's going on in every county, and we have over 1.5 million of the cattle in the province under this surveillance system. And this map is actually generated where you can actually look at a syndrome, or in this case, this one is specifically that there is sudden or unexplained death going on in the province, which would be something we'd be concerned about in terms of emerging diseases. And we can see which counties are reporting how much and where it sits. Over years, you can start to then average that out and start to look for blips. And so the chief provincial vet has a big monitor on his wall. He can watch that, and if a flag comes up, they can start to say, whoa, we've got something going on. We need to phone some of the vets in that area, find out if we have an emerging disease, and start to deal with it. So it's moving the animal health field very far in advance. We're probably the most advanced, well, we definitely are the most advanced in Canada. I would have said we were one of the most advanced in the world until Australia came, took a course from us, and went home and built one. And so Australia has actually beaten us to it because they can get their whole country on faster than we can ever get anything done in Canada. But again, it will be a huge help to the livestock industry in terms of being able to control disease. Food safety recalls, you know about them, you hear about them. The ability for all of us to be able to track all the way back to farm. Dioxin gets in feed, nobody knows about it, doesn't really affect the cattle. All of a sudden, through some freak testing that they do at the other end, they find out we've got it in milk, in meat. How do we trace back to that farm? How do we then make sure we know where the feed company supplied that food? Having that technology and being able to trace through the system is going to be huge for us. As we try to get into markets with our food and sell food to other countries, we've got to prove we've got this kind of system. Okay, how do I back out? Next, okay. There we go. So all of this ties into an information highway. You guys have a broadband highway and an internet highway. We have an information highway, and it's about providing each part of the chain and getting information through the chain. Securing information, that's one of the things I heard the guys from Health say, and that's also important for us. There is certain ownership of that information that can add value. They can sell that information up the chain to actually get more money for their cattle. So not only do we have to build the ability to move information through the system and have producers have access to it at the broadband level and not dial up, but then we also need to have them be able to control it on farm and say whether they're going to release the stuff that isn't for public health and animal health, the yield grade, whether they've been raised antibiotic free, that type of information. They need to be able to decide whether their buyer is paying them for that information and release that information. So there's a lot of work that's going to be needed in that area. Just to quickly touch communication, a lot of the stuff we're doing now, we've built high-level strategy, but we need to be able to talk to the producers. One of the things we find is producer groups aren't always in tune with the producers out in the field. You've got 2,700 cattle producers, you've got 5 people that sit on a board or 10 people that sit on a board. Are you really getting the information about what the issues are of the producers through only talking to those boards and committees, these elected groups? So having the ability to communicate more broadly, to be able to get feedback, to be able to have that interaction would be huge for us to build strategies and move ahead. Nothing replaces face-to-face meetings, there's no question about that. But a video conference is sure a lot better than a document written and expecting somebody to read it while they have 17 other things to do on farm. Again, leadership capacity, I talked a bit about this. We haven't got a good handle on this yet. We really need to work with industry on it. But it's about some of the work that our department's already doing and further enhancing that in terms of being able to communicate, have video workshops, have them understand, do business risk management courses through video, having one person having to go out. Right now there's 37 Alberta beef producer meetings going on. And between our deputy minister and 4 of our staff, we're trying to get to all of them in the province. And I drove my deputy minister home from one yesterday, and if he keeps at this pace, he's not going to survive. And yet he so desperately wants to get out at 50 people at a time and talk to them. Wouldn't it be really great if you could sit there and have a conversation with 450 people across the province in one go and be able to communicate that quickly? So what are the current limitations? Again, we're battling misinformation. It's just to try to get that out now in a rush is causing us problems, and people don't have access. You go up to a meeting in the North Peace country, and I mean, besides the fact that these guys don't even have access to internet or cell phones, they're the guys that want to break a tractor into 1,200 parts and put it back together again. No problem, but do they want to have a computer in their house? Absolutely not. And they're not too keen on cell phones either. So breaking that barrier that the woman previously talked about is huge for us to get people comfortable with computers. Being able to have them trust the technology and not worry about people stealing their information or having access. Huge geographical discrimination in this province. The people that will be successful are the ones that have access to internet. If they don't have access to internet, it is going to cause them economic hardship. This last mile thing, so great, you got it to the town of X, Timbuktu in Alberta, but the guy that lives 2 miles out of town doesn't have access to it. It really doesn't help. I mean, it's nice that our vet clinics have it. We get that animal health information, but it sure doesn't do any good for those producers that are farther out of town. And just to be able to have that conversation or have meetings where it doesn't cost as much money because people don't have to travel into Edmonton or Calgary or Red Deer every time we have a meeting, and if we could still have a meaningful dialogue would be great. The other thing I'd like to say is with these Alberta Beef Zone meetings, I had a gentleman come up to me last night in, where was I, Ponoka. And in Ponoka, he says, I just wanted to tell you that our gas co-op, right, they have utilities co-op, has decided that internet is a utility. And it is actually important enough to us that there's a bunch of us getting together as gas co-ops and seeing if we can bring internet to our membership. And I thought, wow, I mean, it's true. And then again, that video showed it. Internet is truly a utility now. It's like the refrigerator, and it needs to be treated like that, and everybody should have access to it. And so very important in our rural communities that are really important to our economy. So that's it for me, Darcy.
Thank you, Dr. Honor. I just want to point out for anybody who would like to move to special areas, we do actually have that in our rural areas. We've undertaken a WiMAX project, so if you want to send producers our way, we're fine with that.